Hey, I think, okay, I think that I got this. Holy cow. Okay, I consider myself to be a fairly technical, person who understands technology and technical things, and yet this switch to live streaming from YouTube is just the worst. So they're like, download an encoder, and there was just nothing for it. Okay. Um, If you are hearing an echo, okay, it might be speakers. Okay, got my assistant Megan on the line, and hopefully you can see me. I see you guys, hooray! So, what I wanted to do is say hello and Happy New Year. Super excited to be doing Digital Project Life with everyone. I did not do Project Life for 2014 or 2015, so I'm really excited to get back into this. Now, for those of you who have, gosh, and I'm sorry, it's 25 after, I know. I'll stay as long as you guys need to for answering questions and doing the chat, and it will be perfect. So what I want to do here is just make sure that I can get on my live stream. Let's see if this works. There we go. Okay. Now I need to get back off of my live stream because, okay. Welcome to me trying to figure out what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. So, what I would like to know from you guys is the level of experience that you have. Okay, gonna turn that one back off. Don't worry, we'll get the hang of this. This is gonna be fun. It's been a while since I've done something live, so that's super fun. So I would love to know what kind of experience you have in Photoshop and what kind of brought you into the idea that you wanted to do a week by week scrapbook with me. And the chat is right there live and I can see it. And so let me just get back there. There we go. So I hear Monique saying she's done some digital, no experience, and I see Kimberly says some kind of experience. So Amy says she's taken 5 of my digi classes before, so I think she's good to go. Kind of a range then. So what we're going to do in this class is actually, I keep fidgeting, I'm sorry. What we're going to do in our class is actually, I'm going to start at the super basics. And so that's what you're going to find in lesson 1, which is coming up tonight. So that's going to get uploaded tonight. Basically, what that's going to do is walk you through really slowly from kind of the first opening of the program all the way through opening up your very first document. Then we're going to move in. So if you've already done some Photoshop work and you know how to open up a file and save that back off as a PSD, you can basically kind of skim through lesson 1. But I've recorded that in both Photoshop Elements and in Photoshop CC. So if you have switched programs before, in between times, this might be a good opportunity. So if you've subscribed to Photoshop CC after using Elements for a long time, you might find this useful as well. So my assistant Megan has gone ahead into our course and uploaded a link. Megan, if you want to put the link right into the chat there, so they don't have to log into the Dropbox account or the course. I mean, I have some cool surprises for lesson 1. Now, the cool thing is that you're going to get cool surprises every one of our lessons. So we've got 2 going up every week for our entire class. You're going to end up with, I got to say, a couple hundred, maybe even more than that, different options for different cards and stuff like that. So for those of you who have done Project Life in paper, or you've done it on the Project Life app, you're going to be really familiar with the idea behind Project Life, and then I'm going to be able to share with you the ability to use that knowledge and that kind of concept, the sort of driving force behind Project Life, into that really flexible world of Photoshop. And for those of you who have the Photoshop knowledge, then we can talk about kind of the driving force behind Project Life in general. And if you're somebody like me who took 1,000,000 photographs, it's weird to be at this stage in my life. I took 1,000,000 photographs when my kids were, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and whatever, because they were always there. And, what else are you going to do but chase them around and take them to the park and whatnot? And they don't care about being photographed. Now, when child A hits 12 or 13, then, you enter a sort of, at least this has happened to me, entered a different phase of life where, she's like, well, don't take a picture, whatever. And then, things become a little bit different. And for those of us who are in that phase of life, or if you're in the grandparent phase of life, your Project Life project can be a little bit different. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in our course as well. Yes, see, Lucy's right there with me. So your 12-year-old needs to get it together. So I threaten and bribe, and that's what I've kind of resorted to. But one of the things that we talk about is, okay, you get Halloween because I'm letting you dress up in a costume. I'm making your costume and, driving you to wherever. And you get that, and I get pictures of you. And that's our agreement. Okay. So, maybe it's not the camera all the time scenario like it used to be, but there definitely are circumstances where you're going to get the camera out. Maybe you're going to, my daughter's a little bit more self-conscious than she was when she was 7. She's going to turn 13. Oh, my living heavens. She's going to turn 13 in about a month, and that's a different phase of life, and it's scary to me. But it's also a good opportunity to say, this is really important to me, and here's why. And, maybe even one of the things I know my friend Heidi does is take her kids out, and they do some awesome photo shoots. She takes her kids out to the Salt Flats in Salt Lake, and they do a shoot, every 6 weeks or so. So the results of that are photographs that she can use, in a lot of her projects, but they're also great kind of milestones of, this is what my whole family looked like in great photographs, kind of pre-scheduled. I don't know what kind of threats or bribes she does in the background, but she gets everybody out there. And we've talked quite a bit about, the preciousness of the photographs that she has now that she's lost one of her children, and those photos that she schedules and takes out on the salt flats are one of the things that she has that is really significant to her. So maybe for those of us who don't get to just kind of capture things as several times a day, and I end up with 15,000 photos a year. Now it's in the hundreds, and I get that because our circumstances are different. But that just, will kind of entice us, I guess, to work a little bit harder on capturing the things that really matter, and not just being okay with, the shot you took in the gym of their behind while they were walking up, to get some kind of an award, but to really focus on, your opportunities that are going to be more limited. So one of the things that, if you're in that kind of older kid, teenagers, they're college kids, on into the grandparent phase, that we're going to do, that's a strategy that I'm going to use, is I'm going to have a set of prompts that are going to help you to personalize your book just a little bit more. So it will be maybe a little bit less about your day-to-day, or in addition to your day-to-day. You're going to be able to add in some things, some interviews with your family, but also some kind of some prompts that will help you kind of reflect on your life's kind of circumstance right now, and you can take or leave those, but I think it'll be a great addition to your book. And of course, include all the people who love you, and it'll be kind of a cool snapshot. I wanted to show you one of our first pages that we're actually going to be doing in lesson 1. So let me switch over. Again, this might go badly, so let's see. Dun, dun, dun. I want to do this one, and I want to do nope, not that one. I want to do there it is. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Oh, sweet mercy. Okay, so here is one of the pages that I wanted to share with you. This is actually the one that we open in lesson 1. And the plan here is that at the beginning of every month, you will take a few minutes and sort of capture the overall view of that month as a 2-page spread. And one of the pages, of course, is going to be the kind of introduction. So this one would be our January page, and I've got a bunch of little embellishments and what have you that'll say, here's January, we're entering January. And that's one of the really cool things about Photoshop, is that you can include all kinds of different stuff, and you don't have to buy a totally different page protector or try to figure out what you're going to do in your 12 by 12. It's one of the cool benefits here, is that not only is it really flexible, but it also kind of gives some ideas, and that's what the template is all about. So for our kind of month dividers, one of the sides of that spread is going to be this page here, and the other side of the spread is going to be one of those little snapshot pages where you can say, here's what we are learning about, or here's what I'm pinning, here's what our food of the moment is. And it's just really cool to kind of capture that month by month. And of course, you can use that same kind of snapshot format for your week by week as well. So this week we decided to, rather than using your traditional Project Life spread that's got 8 different boxes on every page. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that 2-page spread looks like in Photoshop. If you've never used Photoshop before, this one's going to be a little intimidating on the layers palette side, but once you get kind of used to what's happening in the document itself, then it becomes a lot less intimidating. It's just a lot of things all at once, which is why we started at this one that's only got 5 things on it. So here's our month divider, and let's go ahead and open up the 2-page spread. I'm going to do that into Photoshop Elements. So I have Elements 14. Elements 15 is out. For our purposes, they're not different. Actually, for our purposes, anywhere from Elements 11 is really not different for our purposes. So have you downloaded, let me come back out and check. Have you downloaded your digital Project Life cards? There's the question I was looking for. The reason why I'm asking that is because I think you're going to really like the number of goodies in there. So hang on, I'm texting my assistant here. So I think you're really going to like the number of little fun things that are inside of there. So again, if you've never used Photoshop Elements, you're going to come to Expert, and that you can see right here. And then we're basically just going to open this document. Now I've got for lesson 1, we're just going to come to Open. And we're going to come out to Dropbox. This is where I store everything. We'll talk for just a second. I'm going to write that down. So we can talk for just a second about kind of file management here. It's hard to do in a situation where it's just videos, because then you can't ask me questions. So I'm just going to write that down so I remember. So inside of the education, okay, so you're going to need to create a folder that is for Digital Project Life. I use an external hard drive and then sync that up to Dropbox. We can talk about that. But I've created a 2017 folder right here. And then I've got our course materials right here. And this is kind of a fun little, here is what's to come. So when you download these, Megan has already given you the links there in the chat. So please feel free to download that or log into our course, and we've got the download links there. So what you're going to get tonight are the templates, 2 of them at least. And again, we're going to be filling in a bunch of this stuff as we go on in the course. So the 2 templates that we're going to start with are 00, and you'll be able to download both of those. And then the other thing you're going to get is this set of 2 folders. One is called DPL, Digital Project Life 3x4, and one's called 4x6. And if you go inside of here, there are just a ton of little goodies that you're really going to like. Now, this is all just digital cards, and essentially they're the same. If you're familiar with Project Life, they're the same as the paper cards. And in fact, some of them are literally the cards that they print out and send to you with the paper project life. So cool. We get the digital ones and you only have to get it once and then you can use it forever. So there's your 3x4 cards and then your 4x6 ones. Now, what do I mean when I say that for those who are not familiar with the format of Project Life? So if we come into templates here, you can see we've already taken a look at 00, which is a single page layout. Now we're going to go into our 2-page spread and we're just going to click open right here. Again, this is going to be in lesson 2, which is coming up on Friday. So digital project life. I've actually put in a few cards so you can get an idea of what this looks like when there's stuff inside of here. And so that when you're working on your very first 2-page spread, it's a little bit less overwhelming. So each one of our project life spreads is actually going to come to you as a 2-page spread. I find that this is an easier way to work than to do individual 12x12 scrapbook pages. So that way you can get your whole week at once if you're doing a week by week, and the spread actually can kind of coordinate with each other. I'm definitely not somebody who cares about, this shade of aqua going with that shade. You can actually see that right here. So this little rise and shine right here totally doesn't match the teal color that's over here. I think that's fine. If you're somebody who really wants for them to kind of coordinate with each other, this 2-page spread format is going to be especially nice. So in our course, we're actually going to be talking about some ideas for what you can do for these various little boxes here. And we're going to be talking about how to use photographs, whether they're full 4x6s like this one, or whether they're little 3x4s like these ones in the middle, or there are a lot of Project Life cards that are actually little spaces. So they'll have, half the card will be a journaling box and half the card will be a little space for a photograph. We'll be talking about how to draw the photo spaces for those as well. Familiar with Photoshop, you're going to recognize these blank boxes as clipping masks. And essentially all that is a little placeholder for whatever graphical thing you're going to put on top of it. So these teal boxes are not very interesting until you go out and grab some of these cards. Then it begins to really fill up and feel very much done. So let's take a look here in the layers palette. And again, this is all coming in the lesson, in the video lesson. So don't feel like you have to, take really big notes or whatever, but I wanted to provide a little introduction and get everybody excited about the fun that we're going to be having. And I can't wait to show you this cool stuff. Really, this beginning of the year is such an exciting time, and it can sort of get us going for the remainder of the year, and we'll be able to kind of record things as we go along and sort of stay together as a team. So super excited about that. And I did want to know if you would rather create a Facebook group, or if you would rather join my forum at community.JessicaSprague.com. Go ahead and just type into the chat there, and Megan's got it kind of in a running tally. You don't have to, actually tally. You can send me an email, or there's going to be a little comment area in the course itself where we can decide what we would like to do as far as moving forward. Our course does end at the end of January, as far as new videos and things like that, but there's going to be a really cool opportunity at the end of there to be able to keep going forward and get brand new things and new techniques going forward into the year. Let's take a look at what's really most important here, and that is all of the layers that make up our digital Project Life pages. So for those of you familiar with the page protector version of this is going to look really familiar with the 2 4x6s side by side and 2 4x6s down below. Our Project Life pages are scaled down just a little bit, so they're not going to be exactly 4x6. again, one of the beauties of using Photoshop instead of paper and glue is that you can make a 4x6 really sort of a 3x5 and nobody's going to care. And you can draw clipping masks. That's these little placeholders here, any size and shape that you want to. And so there's really ultimate creative freedom. With that said, I love my paper and glue. So in some of my pages, I have things like ticket stubs or little photo booth photographs, and I absolutely keep those things. And even, for example, I would make a little blank here and say, I have a photo booth photo strip. So I could leave a little blank here and maybe even leave the one below that blank with the anticipation that when I print this out, I can staple that thing right in here. So that mixture of both digital and physical is a really real and very cool thing to start thinking about. You really have your choice here as far as ultimate printing goes. I do have a printing partner that's going to give you a super good deal on printing pages out so that you can actually print these out as you get them done. That keeps you motivated for going forward week by week because you have something real to put in to your page protectors. If you would rather save those PSD files, cut them apart and save them off and print them into a book at the end of the year, of course, that's going to make a phenomenal heirloom that you can show people and then be able to pass down. So back to what the real key thing here, which is the structure. And you can see that over here in the layers palette. This looks exactly the same in the full version of Photoshop. And we've got our background and then this kind of craft colored mat right here with some stitching on it. And then we've got these boxes that are the placeholders. These are right here. And then for the ones that actually have something on them, here's one. This one right here is a journal card that I opened up and stuck on the document and then used my super cool clipping mask technique, which we talk about in lesson 2, to basically form my journal card to the size and shape of that box underneath it. So I never have to measure and I never have to cut something down to size because all of that formatting is done for me. Now we're going to have other templates as well that have boxes that are in different configurations, just like the page protector versions of Project Life. So that's really fun. And if you would like, you can even mix page protector plus digital page kind of in the same book. Now, there was a question about whether or not Photoshop Elements is worth the upgrade. As far as I'm concerned, Photoshop Elements 12, 13, and 14 are roughly the same. I don't necessarily think that enough was added in to make a super big upgrade worth it. If you are going to kind of jump to something from an upgrade perspective, I would even consider going up to the full version of Photoshop. Mostly because for $10 a month, you get Photoshop CC, which is the big full mama version, and Lightroom, which is photo management. And that's very cool. That is a kind of companion set. The benefit of using Photoshop Elements, of course, is that you can buy the program and own it forever. So someone recommended the app Collect, which helps remind you to take photos. I like that a lot. Any suggestions that come in like that will be great. And I wanted to kind of go through an external, the whole process that I have for going through external hard drive. Let me come back to my face. How's my face? We're going to talk through the process here of collecting and organizing photographs and your Project Life, digital Project Life goodies. So, on Pinterest, when there's whole boards that are dedicated, and I even have one, I'm pretty sure, whole boards dedicated to scrapbook rooms or crafting rooms. And you can basically take a look and ogle other ladies' awesomeness who seem to have made a hobby out of organizing their stuff. So cool. And it's so not the way I can function. You can see back here, I do have some organization. You can see there's my punches, different stuff. Never going to give that stuff up. I like paper too much to give that stuff up. So I'm always looking for opportunities to mix up the digital and the physical. So in the same way as there are ladies who, and I say ladies broadly, of course, since 98.5% of us are ladies, in the same way as they create, a hobby out of organizing, there are ways that we can organize our digital things, and it is quite as satisfying, I will say, as having a really clean craft room, having a really clean external hard drive. So real geeks ask for an external hard drive for Mother's Day or for a memory upgrade, right? So those are the cool girls. So let's talk for just a second about organizing the sort of mass of stuff that you're going to be or already are collecting. So that includes digital items, which is about to grow exponentially. And it includes photographs as well, since that's going to be a big part of what we're working on here. So the way that I organize things is only one of the ways that could happen, just like, scrapbook rooms. I just wanted to give you an idea of the way that I organize things so that it can be a jumping off point for you. I try to keep things as simple as I can, because otherwise I end up in the digital version of like sorting out my sequins, and then, you've gone too far, or like sorting out my ribbons into lengths in addition to color or whatever. I've been there, and my ribbon is right over there, and sometimes it's in a huge tangle, and sometimes I'm like rolling it onto the little spools and stuff, and really, it's either or for me. So what I do is I actually use Dropbox for storing things in the cloud. The reason for that is that I like the idea of a backup that is outside of my house. The actual storage in my house is actually in an external hard drive, and I'll show you my external hard drive. Oh yes, he has a name right here. This is a 2 terabyte external hard drive. Actually, this one's a 4. And this is only for backup, so it's not sexy and it's not designed to go anywhere, which is the difference between something that is like the passport, which is designed to sort of be taken along with you. This one is powered by itself, which is important, and it is hooks into your computer by USB. So you actually hook your hard drive into a power supply versus just powering by the USB plug. And this is Skinny Joe. So he sits on my desktop, and I treat him with great love and care. And then I use the extra storage space that Skinny Joe offers to sync down with Dropbox. So this is the part that's kind of confusing. Let's switch back over, because I want to share what I do. Yeah, there we go. Oh, screens forever. Okay. So let me close a few of these randos. Okay, so for my personal stuff, I store everything. So I say that my personal stuff, I am my business too. And so a lot of my project life stuff is actually stored in my business Dropbox. You're probably not going to need that, but you know, you can kind of get the idea of what I'm working on just using the personal Dropbox. There are other cloud storage systems. There's Amazon just developed one, Google Drive, Microsoft has one, and they all function exactly, you know, relatively speaking, about the same. Essentially, you sign up for the service and they give you storage space that's online, and then you'll download their app. And that's where you really see the connection between your computer and the online space. So I downloaded the app and mine is sitting right here. I put it into the little sidebar, but you can also access this in, say, in Windows or elsewhere in the Mac just by opening the applications. And so this again is in my business Dropbox. So what I've got here is everything that I own, and that's anything to do with my business or scrapbooking or what have you, is all inside of this main folder. That way anybody on my team can access this, and it makes life a lot easier. That does happen to include my Project Life stuff. So all of my source material is underneath this JS source. You can see that that folder is actually shared, and it's got a bunch of my digital scrapbook download things. So this is the place where I store these. Now, the thing that's you kind of have to wrap your head around is the idea that this actually lives on either your local hard drive. By that I mean the one that's physically on your computer, or on your external hard drive. So you remember Skinny Joe? He's right here. And if I click on Skinny Joe, here is where my actual Sprague Lab, that's my business, and my personal Dropbox, here is where those actually live. And then the material that I put up in the cloud on Dropbox.com can sync back down with the stuff that's already here on my hard drive. So that's cool, because then I have one place that it's here local, and I have one place in the cloud. One of the things that I like about Dropbox is that it's got a mobile application too. And the mobile app, whenever you take a photograph, actually syncs right into here. So when you sign up for a Dropbox account, something like $10 a month for a lot of storage space, it's going to, anytime you take a photograph and you open up your Dropbox app actually on your phone, it's going to automatically sync up to camera uploads. So this is stuff that I've taken with my phone as long ago as this morning, say. You know, this uploads to camera uploads in almost real time. So then I can use these photographs and actually just click and drag those right into my Project Life pages, just as quick as that. So that's one of the reasons why I really like Dropbox for an option to gather in both photographs here kind of automatically in camera uploads. These are phone-only photographs, and to be able to gather in my digital supplies. So if you're not running a business Dropbox account too, then your materials will be in here in your Project Life folder, kind of next door to your photographs. Perfect. So you take a photograph with your phone, and then Dropbox, the Dropbox mobile app, is going to sync that up to camera uploads, which is then going to sync back down to your computer. That's why it does make sense to invest in a really big, nice, big, roomy external hard drive. Awesome. Now, the last piece of this is how to organize your stuff as you get it. So you can see that the Dropbox camera uploads is only done by date. And so I know what photos I took yesterday, but I'm less sure about photos that I took 2 years ago. And how do I pull out a photograph that was taken at an event, you know, multiple years ago, is definitely not through the camera uploads. So that is something that will require an additional application to be able to organize something. That's beyond the scope of our class, but I wanted to kind of mention that as, you're going to end up searching for photographs, and you can use something like the Photoshop Elements Organizer. You can use Adobe Bridge, which comes for free with Photoshop CC. You can also use Lightroom, which if you sign up for the photographer's package, which is the $10 a month one from Adobe, you get Lightroom. It's a great organizing program for photographs, and you can use it to edit photos. That's as far as that program goes, though. If you want to actually make scrapbook pages, you're going to have to come into Photoshop to be able to do that. Then on the product side, as far as organizing your digital products, I offer a couple of classes, one for Windows in the program called ACDC, and one for Mac that's called Pixa. And I've also been exploring this one called PicSave, and just wanted to show you what that one looks like. Let's go into one that's here. There we go. So most organizing programs are going to be roughly the same. They're going to show you the folder where this actually lives, which is right over here. So this one happens to be the basic gray kit that is called Hello. And so I can actually navigate into that folder using this program, because it basically is a view into what's happening inside of that live folder. But the cool thing is that I can organize this in ways that you can't using just Windows Explorer or the Mac Finder. So here's a Project Life card. I know that because it's kind of shaped like one, right? And I can actually come in and add a tag to that that says this one is a 3x4 Project Life card. So I've got a tag right here that says 3x4 on it, and I can just click that. It'll update, okay? And then I can come back into my tags and actually see all of the products that are tagged with 3x4. So I type 3x4. It's going to take me, I need to come up to all of my products. And this is kind of where I talk about the organizing scrapbook room rabbit hole, because it's super fun to go through here. Okay, so I'm going to click on 3x4. And it's going to show me all of the images so far that I have tagged with 3x4. So this is a way that I can look at all of my digital Project Life cards that I have added the tag to that fit that category of 3x4 across all of the folders of scrapbook stuff that I own. So this same idea applies whether or not you're using a program like ACDC for Windows or Pixa or PicSave for Mac. This ability to tag things is really pretty essential to the idea of being able to see all of your stuff no matter what folder it lives in. So come back to me. Let's see, there I am. Hi. So this is really one of the kind of the round the globe idea of Project Life. We're going to go into a little bit more detail as far as getting things back and forth, photographs and Project Life cards and embellishments and what have you. But the actual program and process for organizing is kind of beyond the scope of this class. So the cool part about this is that you can take any kit that you've downloaded and any products that you've downloaded from my classes and be able to, no matter what folder they live in, kind of navigate to those and be able to find and organize the stuff that you have. So this is one of the little rabbit holes that I sometimes fall into when I'm like, now I'm going to organize all of my 3x4 cards, you know, and I've got like 10,000 digital products or whatever. It's actually more than that. Let's just be totally honest. I can't avoid collecting. I collect physical product and I collect digital product. So for those of you who are like me, all it does is add into the hobby that we have of collecting. We're little magpies, no matter whether that's on our external hard drives or whether that's actually in our crafting rooms. So my recommendations for kind of right away is that you find yourself an online backup service. So that'd be, you know, do some research. What's best for you? It'd be Google Drive, which is free. The Microsoft has one, OneDrive, I think that one's called. Amazon has one, and then Dropbox. And of course, I've shown you I use Dropbox, and I found that that one works great for me. So do some research and get set up with some kind of an online backup. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you have at least one other copy of all of your precious photographs. And then think about getting an external hard drive. So that'll be your next step. No matter how big your computer is, it might be 500 gigs. It's really easy to be able to graduate to the next computer if everything is stored already on your external hard drive. You can basically sort of clean out whatever is on your local, which should be very little, and then basically unplug your external and plug it into the next one, and everything's there. So the other cool thing is that you can then expand space after space after space. So once you run out of your 4 terabytes, which is hard to do, actually, you know, I own a lot of things, and I'm not anywhere close to 4 terabytes yet. So once you do run out of that, then you'll be able to just tack on another hard drive and away you go. So do you have any questions about that kind of process? And you can, of course, watch this video as many times as you want to, and I can even draw some pictures. I move my hands all the time, so I've been sort of drawing, you know, there's syncing with Dropbox, and here's, you know, typing with something. And so I draw with my hands a lot, but I can draw you actual pictures too if you want. There were another couple of questions, so let's go ahead and go through those, and then we can kind of see where we're at from there. Somebody did okay, so somebody says, do I use the Project Life brand page protectors? For the most part. And then We Are Memory Keepers offer a really cool alternative, and their binders are amazing. So they offer this, they call it leather, it's faux leather. We'll just be honest about that. But I have a whole selection of their black binders, and they're padded, and so they're just really sophisticated looking. And I did the great, you know, scrapbook page organization a couple years ago, and so I've got a bunch of them upstairs that my family likes to go through. So the oh, somebody's asking for the link to Pixave, and that's just in the App Store, and it's called Pixave. And I can put a link there in the course if you want to go take a look at that. Pixa, from what I have been able to gather, is not really supported anymore, but Pixave has been around for at least 2 years now and is really highly rated in the Mac App Store. So the unfortunate thing is that this is a Mac-only program, and I've been looking for years, actually, for a program that is cross-platform that would enable us to be able to say, okay, this is the one and only, but this idea of being able to look into your file system and to be able to see the folders, you know, to see the contents of your folders no matter where they are, and be able to add tags to them is really the key feature. So there are several programs that do that, whether you're on the Mac or on Windows. There is, oh, somebody was asking for iCloud. Yes, of course, iCloud is, if you're on the Mac, iCloud's a good addition to that list. Thank you. And then they'll charge you based on how much storage space you're using, and that's kind of an automatic thing. So if you can get that set up to where it's automatically transferring the photos that you take with your phone, perfect. The combination of photos you've taken with your big camera, I assume that all of us here who are interested in this kind of work have what we'll call a big camera, and those aren't going to go into the camera uploads folder. You'll actually have to put your photo collection in a folder kind of next to it, which again leads us back to the discussion of how you organize your photos where you can integrate what is happening there. So that'd be something like Lightroom or the Photoshop Elements Organizer, where again you can kind of see all of your photos no matter where they live. Okay, so one of the suggestions there was iCloud, and she has a terabyte of storage space there. And I think that's roughly equivalent to what you can get in Dropbox as well. So lots of different choices. I would say the big ones are probably the Google, the Microsoft one, iCloud, we have to do some more research because Amazon just made some changes to theirs that I thought was really weird. Like you can't sync down to an external hard drive. That might be changing because that product is still really in flux. So that might be a lie in a week. But as of right now, I was really interested in the Amazon one since it's free for Prime. But if you can't sync down to an external hard drive, it doesn't make very much sense for those of us who own a lot of things, and it takes up a lot of space. So okay, so we have a question about Lightroom better than the Mac Photos app. I think Lightroom is a good addition if you're going to be using Photoshop, mostly because they're really easy to sync back and forth. So I can actually, when I'm in Lightroom, I can actually just right-click and say, open this with Photoshop, and it will take all my edits that I've made there in Lightroom and sort of suck them in. That's pretty cool. Then I can do whatever, my digital scrapbook page, and save that, and all my changes are still there, kind of layered on top of my original photos in Lightroom. That's the majority of the reason why I like it, because it is such a good companion with Photoshop, where I find that the Mac Photos app is more designed to be a little bit more self-contained. And the last that I used it literally is self-contained. So there's a library that all of your photos get stored in that's actually copied over into your hard drive, and then that really does become its own beast. So it's a little harder to get things out of your Photos app. I would love to hear some more ideas and discussion about that. But for me, the $10 a month subscription has made sense. Gotta say, I was pretty upset when they changed over it's been a couple of years, when they're like, you can't own Photoshop anymore and you have to subscribe to this. On the other hand, it makes the entry into ownership of the big flagship program pretty nice. So you can get both of their software that used to cost upwards of $900 now for $10 a month. Of course, you're going to be paying that over and over again over the lifetime of the thing, just like any rental, right? Any other questions? I don't want to keep people up too late. For me, it's a school night. That doesn't mean very much, except for I got to get my people up and out the door at 6:30, and then I'm down here playing with my paper and glue and playing with my Photoshop. So if you have additional questions, we're going to have the Discus commenting forum open in the course, and you'll have lesson 1 available for either Photoshop Elements or for Photoshop CC. Feel free to ask questions there. Myself, my assistant Megan and the mentors are going to be in there helping out. And our real goal here, let's go back to, okay, we've talked a lot about technology. We've talked a lot about the structure of the class. And now I kind of want to roll this whole thing back up into, this is why. And I mentioned before, I'm going to get all teary-eyed. I mentioned before that I've got a girl who's turning 13, and I'm only 26, so I have no idea what's happening there. I'm only ever going to be 26, so it's going to start getting really awkward. She turns 13 in a month and becomes this official teenage type person. And enough time has passed now where she's not little. And that sounds funny because she hasn't been little for a long time, but suddenly this transition is happening that feels more real to me. And I look back at these photographs of her and my son, who will turn 12 this next year, and that life is gone. And the only thing that is left is the story and the photographs that I have. The other day, I mentioned this on Instagram twice over this last Christmas holiday. I passed by my family, my 2 children, sitting by the fire with my scrapbooks open and reading all of the words that I had written down, looking at all the pictures of how tiny they were, and just could not believe that they ever were so tiny. And my mama heart kind of exploded a little bit because I realized that all of the work that this takes and all of the effort and the planning and it takes a lot to say, well, wait, I got to get my camera out, I got to get my phone, or planning ahead so you get a good position in the event or things like that is all worth it. It's all worth it. This is the story of our lives, and Digital Project Life lets us tell that story in almost real time without the extra pressure that I think happens to us when we want to scrapbook, a whole 12 by 12 blank page. We have a ton of little photo spaces, and if you don't fill them, you can put cards in there. And my encouragement to you, and you're going to hear this again, is that you write some of the text that tells the story. I got the privilege of them sitting there looking at when they were teeny, and some of the journaling is like, Elliot cried his face off on the way, and there's a picture of him just like, oh, taking him home from the hospital. And it was when he was brand new. And it was really cool because I got to tell that story again. And there's a quote from Anais Nin, who was a memoirist. And she says, "We write to taste life twice, once in the moment and once in retrospection." And I've loved that saying for such a long time because that's really what makes this effort and our focus on this so much worth it. When we're sitting at our computers and looking at those photographs, even taken the week before, or when we're looking back into the past, we get to taste our lives again. And that is something that only those who understand the storyteller's heart really understand. We think about life in a different way, and we focus on the little things that maybe other people don't notice. I'm super excited to be able to participate in this course with you. I'm excited to produce my own pages right alongside, and I'm excited to share a bunch of cool stuff and give you tons of cool goodies, and we're going to have an awesome time. So I hope that you have a great new year, and if you, again, have questions, comments, political speeches, feedback, please no political speeches, never mind, feedback or what have you, please don't hesitate. You can send me an email. You can write in the Discus forums. And I'm looking forward to being able to spend this time with you. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you in class. Bye-bye.